2 videos for me in one day, right? Okay, so I wanted to respond to discussion number 4 as well. Again, some really great discussion going on, you guys. I'm very impressed. I really like this idea of whether or not you can understand why someone does something, and whether or not you think it is acceptable. Because there's a big difference between something being understandable and something being acceptable. And we look at that then throughout this novel. And the idea of blame, when do you have to take on responsibility for your own actions? To what point do you have to stop blaming other people? And I think that this is very common in our society, where a child misbehaves and we blame the parents, or we blame society, we blame the red food coloring in the Kool-Aid, or all of these other things. So where does it stop? Where do we have to actually put responsibility on the person doing the action? We all know that, and you see this with the creature, and you're going to see it, throughout the novel, that what the creature goes through obviously affects him and the decisions he makes, and has a horrible negative impact on him, and that we see that he was not malicious to begin with. So obviously how we're treated affects the kind of person we are. And so I think we have this struggle here in the novel between when is it when is it our fault, and when is it, how much responsibility does society have to take, or do the people in our lives have to take? And we do this in our own lives. We see this in society all the time. And so again, just like I commented on the last video, it's the struggles that we have here are truly human struggles. These are indicative of humanity. It's 200 years old, and we're still having these struggles. This, who takes responsibility? The novel is really filled with a lot of gray area. And that is sort of in response to the first question, monster or creature. How do you see Frankenstein's creature? Why is he a monster? Is he a creature? And it gets hard to just call him a monster, right? Because we see him as intelligent. We've seen him being kind, and we've seen him be mistreated. It is such a hard question to answer, because I feel so much sympathy for him and empathy for him. Yet there are some things that he does that I just cannot accept. What happens with William, and I just, at that point, he crosses this line, and yet we still have some sympathy for him. We still know that he was treated horribly. And so again, we struggle with how we feel about these characters and what they've done. And it's the same with Victor. We know that Victor went through a really tough time when his mother passed away, and we know he sort of got really caught up in his work creating this creature, but yet then he abandons the creature, and he continually lies. He continually, ducks his responsibility with what happened with the creature, and so at the beginning we like Victor, and then we kind of feel sorry for Victor, and then, at least for me, I get very frustrated and angry with him. And I think, take some responsibility, stand up, tell people what you did. He could have prevented things from happening. He could have prevented deaths. He could have prevented all, but he didn't, because as far as I'm concerned, and this is just my interpretation, is that he was a coward. He didn't have the strength of character to stand up regardless of the consequences. And I understand why he's afraid. People would probably put him in prison. They might kill him. I mean, they're going to think he's crazy. They may not believe him, but he never tries. And at least not at this point in the novel. And it's so frustrating. I get so upset with Victor. And so we have both Victor and his creature, and neither one of them are good or bad, right? We as readers struggle with how we feel about both of these creatures, which again is so human, because human beings are fallible, right? We are neither pure good or pure evil. Let's hope for the most part we're very good, but we all mess up. we all make bad choices, and so we have that empathy for these characters because we've gone through those things ourselves. I mean, obviously, I've never created some sort of a creature and let it loose on society and not taken any responsibility for it. But we do make our bad decisions, and we do have to stand up and take responsibility. And I'm sure there's times when we haven't, which is why we have empathy for Victor. So again, this novel is so human, and it's interesting that an 18-year-old girl, granted she'd been through a lot by the time she wrote this, but that such a young girl was able to write something that was so truthful, truly human, that spoke so truthfully about humanity and the human condition. And that's why one of the reasons why we're looking at this particular novel is because despite how old it is, the struggles, those internal struggles and the struggles between the characters are universal and timeless. So I've been enjoying, again, reading these posts, and as they actually, just so you know, every time you guys post, I get a notice on my phone, and so I can read it. So I actually read these a lot of times in real time. So as they come in, I'm reading them, and which is kind of fun because I can kind of watch the discussion unfold. So even though I may not grade them right away, I'm actually reading them right after you guys post them. Unless, of course, you're posting them at like 2 o'clock in the morning, which I'm probably sleeping at that time. So keep up the good work, and I hope you are enjoying Frankenstein.